invited to the royal wedding. I don't know exactly how many people have been invited, but I do have a rough estimate of how many people were actually invited to the wedding. I could be incorrect in my analogy of this, but I will give out the statistics for how many people are going to be watching the event on television and how many people are actually going to be attending it. A number of different media outlets are expected to be attending it as well. The largest media covered event perhaps in the last 15 years, that's over a decade, the largest media covered event perhaps in the entire world. And that's why we're doing this week's edition of HEW Entertainment Variety Radio. I'm going to be extending my best wishes to the royal family coming up here in a little bit. So that's why I decided to come on here on HEW Entertainment Variety Radio, be it that we have an official radio show for our website and a radio forum and a YouTube channel. That's why I decided to do it, because there's a YouTube channel that has over 100,000 messages, best wishes messages coming from fans of the royal family and followers of the royal family on different social networks. Over 100,000 videos, and I have to give compliments where compliments are deserving to be credited to, and the compliments are going out to everybody who actually took the time to upload the extensive amount of footage on YouTube.com's official royal wedding YouTube channel, which you can find by going to YouTube.com, and you can view some of the messages that were left by the fans and the followers of the royal family, including this one, if you're fortunate enough to find it. I'm no stranger to following the royal family. First off, I've been probably following them for over 14 years, different documentaries I've had the opportunity of seeing. I've had the opportunity of reading different news articles, which are always found in the paper. And anytime there's a special on television, I always have the opportunity to check it out, especially involving the royal family. And with the extensive amount of media coverage that assumed from the 1997 tragedy of the death of Princess Diana, I think that everybody got a good idea and a very detailed glimpse into what royalty was really all about, and how they lived their lives in Buckingham Palace. Ever since 1997, I think everybody became extensively interested, more so than they had been probably in the last 15 years. In the royal family, there was a lot of speculation on if it was actually, a setup on the part of, different people involved with the royal family to actually kill Diana, some type of experiment of, what's the word I'm searching for here? Conspiracy to get rid of her and everything. I'm going to go on record for saying I don't believe the speculation, because, like I said, a number of different people will speculate on things. Not only this particular issue from 14 years ago, but a number of different people will always seem to speculate and offer their opinion on virtually anything. And it's kind of like the Chris Benoit situation from 2007 and different issues in professional wrestling, which I've had the opportunity to cover. And I've always said this about a number of different issues in the sports world. If you're not there, the only thing you can do is speculate on it. And that's basically what people are doing, because the majority of the people who are commenting on it, whether it be on the internet in some type of blog or for a news documentary that was being put together for it, the only thing that people could really do is speculate on it. I'm going to state this for the record. I'm not sure if it was a conspiracy. The only people who know if it were a conspiracy were the people who were actually involved, and they'll probably never admit to it being a conspiracy. But I'm going to tell you this. If you're not there, the only thing you can do is speculate. So I don't think there's any right or wrong answer with the whole tragedy from 1997. Now, over the past 14 years, the coverage of the royal family has definitely expanded from what it was due to the tragedy nearly 14 years ago. And 14 years later now, the royal wedding is being covered just as much as Prince Charles and Diana's wedding was. But 14 years later, I think that this is going to achieve more media coverage than perhaps the Diana-Charles wedding from several years ago. And I think that this one is going to be one of the most highly documented events to ever take place in the history of the royal family. They had to go get consent from the Queen to make their marriage official. The Queen gave them the consent to do it, and upon the consent deliberation from the Queen, of course, then they started handing out invitations. I believe over 1,900 people are going to be invited and have the privilege of attending the wedding. Some fans were actually trying to get close to Buckingham Palace the other day and actually take a glimpse inside of life inside of the palace. I don't know how good of a glimpse they actually got. but I found that very entertaining and very amusing that people would actually try to get that close to the Buckingham Palace area, this close to the wedding. I found that very entertaining and something that I should have highlighted here. Felt necessary to highlight for this week's audio commentary. As I said here later on in the program, I'm going to be offering my best wishes just as the previous 100,000 fans have already done on YouTube.com. And as I said, this video will be available on YouTube.com for you to have the opportunity to leave your opinion on the royal wedding and the wedding between Prince William and Catherine Medler. Of course, you will be able to do that also here in our radio form if you have an opinion on the royal wedding. A off-the-topic radio show for us. We don't do this normally, but if you have an opinion on the royal wedding, you can of course leave it here in our radio form. And of course, you can send us an email, hwwrestling@hotmail.com. Find me on Facebook by going to facebook.com, type in my name, Jonathan Clarke, along with a friend's request. Send me one of those and your opinion. And of course, you can get a hold of me on youtube.com. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up for our radio form. Yeah, I found that very interesting how the fans were actually trying to get close to Buckingham Palace, and I found it very, very traditional of them to actually go and get consent from the Queen. They were doing a lot of different traditional things. They didn't want to break with tradition when it came to this wedding, and it was expected that she was actually going to promise to serve Prince William, but they're going to do traditional vows where she'll promise to love him and honor him until the day she dies. And I think that's very, very respectful of him and her to do that, because traditionally what the wife would do in circumstances like this is vow to actually serve the king instead of just love him internally. But I think that it's very respectful of him definitely to go along that way, go down that road with it, and not do something that would probably have been done 300 or 400 years ago. So definitely she's going to be promising to love him and do some type of traditional vows. And I have to commend the royal family in this message here. I have to condemn them, or commend them for actually going around that route and actually going that way, because 300 or 400 years ago you wouldn't have seen something like that. 300 or 400 years ago you would have seen the wife who was to wed the king, or prince actually in this case, in this scenario here, you would actually see them actually vow to serve them instead of love them. And I think that a tremendous amount of commendment needs to be handed to the royal family for actually agreeing to go down that route, and you have to respect Catherine for being able to do that, because like I said, 300 or 400 years ago this would not have been the case, and it would have been presented and approached very differently from what it's being approached here now. So that's something that you need to take into consideration when you hear the exchanging of the vows. When this wedding is scheduled to take place, it's not going to be traditional vows. It's going to be vows with somewhat of normality incorporated with it, and it's going to just be traditional vows extended just as normal people would extend to one another. And definitely I have to give them a great deal of credit for being able to do that. The place to be wed is definitely a appropriate place. Of course, the news pieces on television networks have been documenting where they're going to be wedded to. I originally thought it was actually going to take place at Buckingham Palace, but apparently it's not going to be. It's going to be taking place at some type of church that's pretty close to Buckingham Palace, and the individual who is going to be wedding them is actually very privileged and feeling very honored to do so. And he actually commented on the wedding for a news documentary that I had the privilege of seeing, which I found very, very honorable of him to do. A number of different people are actually going to be heading to England to actually get a first-hand glimpse of the wedding, and I think that the Canadian fans in general, the Canadian fans and the American fans of it, who have the privilege of actually attending it, are going to be very thrilled and very honored to do so. And definitely I'm more than thrilled to actually come on here on HEW Entertainment Variety Radio and be commenting on it. Over 2 billion people are expected to watch this on television at around 2:30 Eastern AM in the morning of the wedding. Of course, the United Kingdom is anywhere from 3.5 to 4 hours in time difference of Eastern time, so that really messes up the time difference. It's going to be 2:30 Eastern time in the morning. That's about 4 a.m. From where this show broadcasts in my area of the world, and where I broadcast this show. That's going to be about 4 a.m. on the Richter scale for me, so I don't know if I'll have the privilege of actually seeing the wedding live on television, but I know there are going to be a number of different repeats and specials, including footage of the wedding, and of course it's all going to be available on YouTube.com, perhaps hours after it happens or a day or two after. There's going to be an extensive amount of footage, including news pieces and actual footage from the actual wedding. I know following the wedding on that same day, the news networks are going to be airing 1-hour specials, including video footage. So if you missed the wedding at 2:30 Eastern Time in the morning, I believe that is the correct time. That's 4 a.m. Eastern Time where I am. Due to the difference of time in the United Kingdom, you can check out 1-hour specials that are going to be airing all day on those news networks, and that will include video footage from the actual wedding. And of course you can go on different video outlets on the internet, such as Google Video and YouTube, to check out different footage, including different amounts of footage, including news pieces and actual footage from the wedding. And I think YouTube.com is absolutely going to be flooded with video footage being uploaded and accessed in both regards. And I know that it's already been flooded with an extensive amount of video footage, including parodies, including actual news pieces, and including footage that has been uploaded by fans, some wedding greetings and messages and best wishes, over 100,000 of them. And 2 billion people are going to be checking out this wedding when it happens live on the news network of their choice. 2 billion people in 2000, around 2000 or 2001. Let me put this into perspective for you. 2 billion people. Okay, in 2000 and 2001, putting a bit of perspective on this whole situation. In 2001, the total population of the world was 6.2 billion people, approximately 6.2 billion people. Assuming that, I know the population of the world has greatly increased 11 years later, but assuming that the population is anywhere from 6.2